If you want to make better art, then you shouldn't paint every day. In the next 7 minutes, I'm going to share with you a series of tools that I have found that will allow you to improve your skills dramatically and free you from not progressing, so you never have to experience the anxiety of having to produce good art again. And all without feeling guilty about that you're not practicing every single day, which is the worst advice in the world. I'll be applying some of these tools while you watch me practice. So take out a piece of paper and a pen, because what you're about to learn will change the way you see and practice art, like it did for me. The majority of artists, painting every day is more harmful than good, because this is what gets them burnt out the fastest and leading them to stop their progression altogether, just like it happened to me. But the artists who are able to not feel burnt out by their practice follow a simple 2-step rule. The very first step to this rule is to set a time to practice. But there are 3 important parts about this first step. Number 1 is that the time is fixed. Number 2 is the frequency of practice. And number 3 is that the second step of this rule is always followed too. The duration of your practice is up to you. It could be 5 minutes or it could be 1 hour. The frequency could be every other day or 2 times a week. But the craziest thing is that with this rule you could do it every day. However, this is only possible if you follow the second step. But the second step of this rule is the hardest one to follow, because we get hyper obsessive with the first step, which is improving our skills. But trying to see improvements every time we sit down to paint is what leads us to burn out and ultimately hate art itself, because it's so frustrating. But to not get to that point of frustration, we need to do one thing. Remember why we love art. In my case, ever since I can remember, I love doodling and sketching and painting. It brings me so much joy just to create something out of my imagination, or just being inspired by the natural world and trying to make something out of that. But when I also want to improve, this makes it easier for me to forget the reason why I started. That's how the second step of this rule also holds the key to lasting joy and improvement in your art. Enjoying yourself needs to happen as often and for the same amount of time as your practice. Paint whatever you like and however you like. There needs to be room for experimentation. Embrace the freedom of being an artist and a creator, because that's the beauty of life itself as well. Just to experience it, not to always look at it through the lens of results and expectations. However, if we are realistic, trying to improve only 50% of the time isn't going to get us to our full creative potential. That's where the next 2 other tools will make your 50% of your practice be worth 10 or even 100 times more, even if you choose not to practice every day. There are 3 strategies that I have used to improve in the short amount of time I gave to my practice. The first one was by focusing on the amount of colors that I had in my palette. This had a tremendous impact on the quality of my work and my understanding about color. I reduced the number of colors that I had in my palette from 12 to only 3, and I later expanded it to 6. I focused only on the 3 primaries, since this could teach me all the possible combinations I could mix with these colors. Then I added the opposing temperature of the 3 primaries to expand my color range. Once I got comfortable with that, I then started adding colors that I couldn't mix, known as accent colors. Limiting my palette had the powerful effect of really understanding color better, but this is a small part of the pie to improve all of my skills. But the other 2 strategies I implemented helped me with this. The second strategy I used is similar to the first one. I took a look at my materials and picked only the 20% that would give me 80% of the best results. And those were my brushes, my paper, and my colors. We already talked about colors though. But for the brushes, I chose 2 to 3 brushes, a big mop and 2 rounds, because these are the most useful and versatile. For paper, I chose to paint smaller when I practice, and this will make sense shortly. For the third strategy, I focused on what would give me the fastest results for the time invested. To make a good painting, we need drawing, composition, contrast, and color. The one that I chose was contrast, also known as values. This, in my opinion, can make or break a painting more than the other 3. However, I am planning to revisit the other 3 at different stages. By painting on a smaller size, I can make thicker paint and cover the areas that I need, which contributes to having the right value. It is just easier to start smaller and then expand later. But where you can truly take your improvements to the next level is with a combination of the previous two and the third tool. Something that I noticed myself doing that was hurting my progression was jumping around from different types of scenes, lighting situations, and even subjects. All of this dawned on me while doing this project that you're watching right now. The video itself, not the painting. There has been several days that I haven't been able to go outdoors. Not only that, but it also got dark and I couldn't see out my window. So I was forced to paint this twice in a row. And what I realized changed my view on painting the same thing again and again. By painting the same subject with the same lighting conditions, I was able to correct the mistakes that I previously made. The results shocked me, and I realized that this could really boost my understanding of specific subjects and lighting. But the problem is that this can be really boring. So that's where combining all of these tools can help this become fun, challenging, and most importantly, productive. In a typical day, I will set myself to paint for 15 minutes. This allows me to focus on the major important parts of my scenes and the value structures. When I am done with painting this scene, if at any other day I can't go out, I paint the same thing, but I let myself remember what I did wrong from the last time before I start painting, and then I just paint for painting's sake. I experiment with colors, the brush strokes, and other things. I let myself be free, and most of the time I end up with something much better than my first attempt when I was trying to be technical. I also had a lot more fun and learned something new from experimenting, which is a wonderful balance that I have never had before and that I would like that everybody experiences. But for most people, this is not something that comes intuitively. So if you're the type of person who likes help other people and you want them to benefit from this because art makes the world a better place, then spread this message by pressing that like button so this can reach other people that needs these tools to enjoy their art and reach their full creative potential. Thank you for helping me spread this message. I'll see you tomorrow.